Okay, today we're going to talk about the growth of the bureaucracy, a little bit of the history of the bureaucracy, and then how the bureaucracy is controlled. So let's start with the history. So it's important to note that there is a big change in our bureaucracy. When it originally was conceived and played out in our government system, you had the spoils system. And the idea is to the victor goes the spoils. So when a president won an election, they would end up getting to pick a vast majority of positions, give them to their political supporters. This trickled all the way through the government down to the local level even. What ends up happening is President Garfield is assassinated by a campaign worker who felt that they were wronged and not given a job despite promises. So in the wake of that tragedy and seeing the underlying cause of that event, the Pendleton Act was passed. And the Pendleton Act pretty much did away with the spoils system and created a merit-based system in our bureaucracy. So now we have the civil service, and you have the factor drawn in where the merit system is used to track highly qualified candidates, making sure that they qualify for the job, making sure that they are passing written exams, interview process, all to see if they are worthy of the position. This was a big blow to party machines. When we studied those earlier in the curriculum, political machines, they were operating off the spoils system. Once you took that piece away, it really hurt their powers. Later on in the history of the bureaucracy, the Hatch Act came in and worked to further undermine political party machines by forbidding any appointed official, any government official from undertaking political activities while they held their position. So you really hurt the machines at that point. So we've been with the civil service since the Pendleton Act, and the underlying question is, has the bureaucracy really grown over time? And if you look at sheer numbers of paid civilian employees at the federal level, the numbers remain pretty constant over the last 50 to 60 years. Where we've seen a lot of growth in terms of bureaucratic hirings is at the state level. And the argument being that a lot of power has been devolved to the states through devolution and then with mandates. So the states are being asked to do more and more of the heavy lifting for government programs mandated and dictated from the federal government, so the states need the manpower and the federal government does not. But I would argue that the power of the bureaucracy has grown tremendously over time. So with that power comes certain issues to control. So we look at the two groups that control the president, or that control the bureaucracy really, the dual authority. So the first person that controls the bureaucracy is the president. And he has, of course, the appointment powers. He can set the vision for a agency by appointing a specific head of the department to take it in a certain direction. He can also issue executive orders. These are rules that he once followed when the bureaucracy is carrying out their job. Lyndon Johnson has a great example of this when he told all government agencies that if they were going to hire and give government contracts out to companies, those companies had to have hiring practices for minorities. So that was a way of him exerting his control over the bureaucracy. The group that really controls the bureaucracy, though, is Congress. And congressional oversight is very prominent. They have the power with their constitutionally given power to legislate. They authorize. So that's one piece of legislation is authorization, where they create agencies or they create new powers for agencies or change powers of agencies. And then just as importantly, they have appropriations. That's spending money. They appropriate funds to different agencies because no agency can operate without money. So it's a big control. That power of the purse peaks its head again in terms of a control Congress has. They can also investigate bureaucratic agencies, shine the light on some of the things they're doing, seeing if they are doing the right thing, call some attention to it. And they can reorganize the bureaucracy. They can change things around. They can give powers over to a new agency and kind of dissolve another. Now, there is still an outside influence on the bureaucracy that plays into this and kind of plays off of Congress, and that's iron triangles. You'll remember that an iron triangle consists of a government agency, a congressional committee, and an interest group. And the interest group sends campaign contributions to buy influence and access into Congress. They tell Congress what their concerns are with the bureaucratic agency. Congress then works on that bureaucratic agency, and that bureaucratic agency then passes regulations that are favorable to the interest group. And that is how an iron triangle works to control the bureaucracy.